and everything together. And I am very, very pleased that you came. Today is the special day because almost half of the audience are our speakers. Well, we begin with one of the famous ladies. She will tell you her story and why she is famous. Christina, please take your space.
Well, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you.
Nice.
Lovely. Okay, so I always start with that because I always like to get the audience engaged and I always like to get the audience entertained as well. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story and who I am. So my name's Christiana Imafidon. I passed GCSE Maths at the age of 9. And from there, I became one of the youngest people to embark on undergraduate studies at university at the age of 11. So I went to university at 11.
Wow.
Following that, I then got chosen or selected to mentor women in business at Sherry Blair's Foundation, and that's why I'm a Sherry Blair Foundation alumni mentor. And following that, I'm now writing a book on blockchain. So my goal is to make it very, very simple for people to understand, so that if you've never come across it before, it's still accessible to you, it's still understandable to you, and it's still something that you can relate to. So how I came into blockchain was actually a journey that started about 7 years ago when I attended a hackathon which was put on by Barclays Techstars and ID 2020, where what we had to do is use blockchain to give an identity to about 200 million children who had been unaccounted for by authorities in Africa and in India. So in the group that I was in, the idea that we came up with is that we would use biometrics or take a picture of the child's face and their fingerprint every year of their life, and by the time they turn 18, they will own that digital identity. So that actually started my foray into digital identity, and I can say probably financial technology. And I was building up on it because the more I found out and discovered about this nascent, fantastic, amazing technology called blockchain, I wanted to find out more. So the way that I did that was going to events, and one of the events that I was invited to was Cambridge Blockchain Conference. This was the first edition that it came out in a few years ago. And so at that event, I interacted with people and then was interviewed by MIT Technology Review, which is a very highly prestigious peer-reviewed publication that specializes on innovation in technology. So following that, it got seen by different people, including a publisher, and then a publisher approached me to write a book. Now, since then, what has happened is I've wanted to elaborate on the brief that the publisher gave me. So not just simply write a book, but create a resource or create an experience for learners that is interactive and for them very accessible and educational and fun. So in terms of building on that, I want to create a book, but I don't just want to create a physical book where people can access it. I want to be able to do an ebook, I want to be able to do an audio book, and then eventually be able to mint a book as an NFT so that it reaches a wider demographic of people. So that's me in a nutshell, and
wow.
I'm happy to take any questions if people have.
Wow.
So I have a list of questions for
Okay.
Christiana,
Okay.
and we will, first of all,
Yes.
tell us about yourself
Okay.
as a person, where you're coming from, and who is Christiana?
That's a great question. So, who is Christiana? I was raised in East London in a place called Walthamstow.
Hey.
And yeah, so I was raised there, and I'm what you would describe as inner city. So I was raised in an area where there was a high proportion of children from socially disadvantaged backgrounds. And so what that meant is that the opportunities that were available in terms of academic and educational were bordering on sparse. And for me, I felt like there was opportunities to do maybe music and football, but when it came to education, we had to look further afield. So in order to develop my skills and talents, my parents sort of did their best to make sure I was in an environment where that could be developed. So that meant coming to different places, meeting different people, joining organisations that could support the talent that was perceived that I had. But in terms of who I am as a person, I'm a very energetic, enthusiastic, lively person, and I enjoy talking to people and meeting new people. So it's lovely to meet some new faces here as well.
Awesome, thank you. And the next question would be, why do you want to work in the blockchain Web3 space? Why did you choose this particular path?
Oh, that's a great question. So I tell you what, the light bulb moment for me happened when I borrowed £300 from my mum. Don't ask me why, I can't. Just know that I did. So I borrowed £300 from my mum, and soon after she was chasing me for the money back. So I was like, okay, I've got to make sure I get it back very quickly because I don't want to have to start pestering me and nagging me. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll do it quickly. So I did. But then she kept on pestering me, and I was like, Mum, I've already sent the money to you. I don't know what is going on. But then I realized that in terms of bank transfer, when I first discovered blockchain, it took about 3 working days to process to get it from my account to my mother's. So in that time, that's when I first came across blockchain. And I'll be honest, the hackathon that I did, we won. And part of the winnings was Bitcoin, so we all got a bit of Bitcoin. And when it came to transferring the winnings to my crypto wallet, it was instant. So I was like, oh, hold on, this is instant cash where it's easy to be transferred from one person to another. There's no intermediaries, and yet I'm having to wait 3 working days for my mom to get her £300 back. So I then got on the phone to my parents, at least I sat my mum down, because my dad had travelled at this point, not that it matters, but so I basically explained to my parents, look, listen, this is what has happened. Look, blockchain is going to revolutionise how we do things. I'm excited. So I explained that to them, and my parents were like, can you please go back into financial services? This is not going to take off. But unfortunately now they're a bit more on board and they're a lot more supportive, but at that time, it was very abstract and very difficult for them to get their head around.
How old were you then?
23.
Okay.
I was young, but I'm a bit older now.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You have a lot of videos, a lot of publications about yourself.
Okay.
Tell us, as a private party today, something which is not online yet.
Something that's not
It's gonna
online. Something that is not
Nobody's
online.
recording.
Oh, that is tough. I'll probably say this, but I still think it might be online. So when I was 14, I was approached by West Ham on the 16s and Tottenham on the 16s. Sorry if you aren't into football, but
literally with the women's Euros, absolutely, everyone needs to be.
It's true. So at that, and sorry if you support different teams to those 2 teams. But it was a very exhilarating experience, and my mum chose West Ham. She was like, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I wasn't going to go to Tottenham in a million years. Just saying. But yeah, so that's probably one bit of trivia about me. I think the other bit of trivia that is probably interesting is that I went on tour in 2015. So before getting into blockchain, I went on tour with choir. Because I studied at university in Oxford, and it was so it was a really amazing experience to be able to tour Rome and be able to sing.
Wow.
So I do enjoy music. I love music. I'm quite big on music, and I love engaging, listening to music, making music, singing, and being an artist. So that's my other interests.
Awesome, thank you.
Pleasure.
And last question from me,
Okay.
maybe from audience we will have other questions.
Okay.
But where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, that's a great question. Certainly making impact in the Web3 blockchain NFT metaverse space. I should say Web3 space. because I think that that's where the future is. I think that's where innovation is going to take place. I think that's where the excitement is as well. It's a very, very exciting space to be in because it's such a nascent technology and very new and very emerging. So I feel like I like the way technology is developing in the Web3 space, and I feel that the next innovation is actually going to take place in sports, music and entertainment, and the interactivity of that with audiences and fans. So that's why it is that I'm looking into that as well. So anybody in the audience, does anybody else have any more questions?
Do you speak at schools?
Yes, that's true.
I'm a governor at my daughter's school, so I get
Okay.
It's in the state sector, so obviously there's no budget, but
Yeah.
it's all been spent. But they're doing the T-levels and the STEM side of things. I think it would be really fascinating to hear from you.
Okay.
What happened to your West Ham career?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so I'll be honest. At that time I was sort of weighing up. I took my maths more seriously than my football, so I sort of didn't spend too long at West Ham. But I feel like looking back now, I think it was the best decision I could make for myself at that point, because if you want to get into football, it's something that you have to start when you're really, really young.
Yeah.
And I was playing football on and off from the age of 5, and I feel like if I was more consistent with my football, I would have that would have taken off in a different direction and a different trajectory.
Very
You've been playing in the
inspirational,
Euros,
actually.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think that was a lesson for me to be like, I should take my football a bit more seriously and practice a bit more. Yes.
Actually, you are an inspiration. I wish I would have met you 20 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, you are. Absolutely.
Mine is, what is your favorite blockchain use case?
Oh,
Great question.
That's fantastic.
Great
that is a
question.
great question. I have to think about that. What is my favorite blockchain use case? I would probably say that I hate to sound typical, but I'd probably say crypto. Or cryptocurrency, should I say? And I say that because I guess because of that whole anecdote of transferring money to my mum and getting the winnings for the hackathon. It's just so simple, easy. As I say, no middlemen. And I was explaining it to kids a few years ago, and I felt like in terms of breaking down blockchain to a granular level, I think using cryptocurrencies and using money is a great way to be able to initiate people into the space so that they have an understanding and they have a foundation of a comprehension of what blockchain can do and what it is as well. So I'll probably say that.
Sorry,
Do you want to
we're
talk
both like this.
I'll bet this is another question too.
You go ahead.
Okay, could you give us any thoughts you have on how blockchain might address issues like poverty and mitigating climate change, social and ecological challenges? Because I think they're pretty pressing.
Big question.
Just a small thing.
So I feel that it's going to do a lot for financial inclusion.
Good.
Yeah, I agree.
And access to finance. I think that in terms of looking at those who are unbanked, one of the things that I realize is that they, UX and UI are quite big at the moment, because if you're going to initiate people who have never come across the technology before, or a demographic of people who don't normally engage with it, it has to be easy to use. And I feel that in terms of engaging them, it would be great if we used or leveraged tools that they currently use or they're used to as a vehicle to get them banked and into financial services. In terms of climate change, that's something that I'm exploring at the moment, and I'd like to do a bit more research on, because I would like to find out more, and I'd like to do more work in that space, because I feel that it's a very important topic. I feel it's crucial, and I feel that it is something that we all need to be aware of and be well versed in. So that's my answer to your
Well,
question.
I can help with that end of it. If you could help with your end, so a skill swap might be a good idea sometimes.
Sorry?
A skill swap might be a good idea.
Yes,
because I've been doing
absolutely.
climate work for 33 years.
Wow.
So anything I've learned from that, you're welcome to that. You can use that resource any way you like. But I'd love to do the reciprocal thing too, if we could.
Thank you.
Learn from you more about how blockchain could engage with that issue.
Thank you.
Probably I can add. I can try to answer your question. So lot of the blockchains or
It's
the,
actually your turn now.
or is
Ah.
it?
Oh, let's go.
Oh, sorry, I
Sorry,
thought
maybe
someone
I'll
had.
take that question when I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
May
Did
not
you
be
have a
accurate,
question?
but I'll try
We
to
can
answer.
talk afterwards.
That's fine. That's fine.
I am absolutely inspired by you. You are amazing. Amazing.
Thank you so much. So I want to thank everyone for coming, and thank everyone for listening, because yeah, it's a labour of love, and it's a huge commitment to be
Yeah.
able to come here today. So I appreciate you all for coming.
Oh, bless you.
Maybe.
Whoa. Thank you so much.